also be emotionally wounded, which is where in relationship to certain things, we always experience like sorrow or pain or things of that sort. And so, and also that, like, if something was really, if the woundedness that happened to us caused us a great deal of sorrow. So, for example, like the woman with her father or something like that. As human beings, we have a natural inclination to want to love our father and to be,
Right.
under his care. And when that is violated, it causes a tremendous amount of sorrow. And so we can
Yes.
actually become emotionally wounded as a result of that. Okay.
Yes.
And again, this is true about all of us in varying degrees. So it can be from slight woundedness all the way up to pretty gravely wounded, because I've met, especially among women, because they seem to be more vulnerable in this regard. I've met women who, their fathers were alcoholics or they were whatever, and they would beat them and things like that. And these women, when they get older in life, they're very strong women. They might be very moral. They might be trying to lead a good Catholic life, but they're damaged in certain areas. And so as a result, their judgment, because the cogitative power is the one that makes these associations and therefore affects our image in our imagination. And so their judgment is off very often about things. They tend to judge things excessively. Okay. So then also woundedness can also be in the possible intellect. So if I judge something falsely, then, so for example, if I judge, yes, men are bad, all men are bad, then what happens is now I'm left with this, the intellectual wound and the possible intellect, where now my future judgments about men are going to be affected. So I'm going to, when I'm around men, I'm going to be watching for them. I'm going to be saying, are they going to hurt me? Are they going to do this? And I'll interpret. This is something that you really see with people who are borderline personality disorder types. Every single thing you do, they perceive it as an injury, as a injustice. I call them injustice collectors, right? You just say, good morning, and they're just like, what do you mean by that? You're just so, but anyway, but that is an indicator that their judgment has now been affected, and so they can.
It's almost like a wound that's festering and that's pus, and it's just the slightest touch is like screaming pain, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, we can talk a little bit about this in relationship to healing, what we have to do precisely along that line that you just mentioned. So the wound, those are the faculties, and then also in the will. So, but the concupiscible appetite can be, you can suffer that's just the part of us that has the ability to have the emotions that pertain to delightful things, pleasurable things, but then also negative things like sorrow and things like that. The irascible appetite is the one that has the ability to engage in things that are arduous and difficult, and it's called irascible because it deals with anger. So people who are really angry, a lot of times it's because they've been wounded. And so St. Thomas defines anger as a perception of injury with a desire for vindication. Well, when we're wounded, that means, for example, physical wound. If I've been physically wounded, it means that the skin around that wound is super sensitive, or the wound is sensitive. Well, and the same thing in psychologically, when people are wounded, they're also very psychologically sensitive to what people say, and so they tend to become more angry or overreact, etc. So, and so that's why a lot of times angry people, they really have to learn how to process their own woundedness in order to get over that. So those are kind of the general areas in which we can become wounded, and there's different ways of addressing each one of those.
Right.